Hi there, my name's Nick. I'm frequently accused of being weird, odd, or downright crazy. In actual fact, I have both autism and ADHD, which together can make me feel a little bit quirky. Hi. Today I'd like to talk about ADHD and study, because study seems to be something that's really difficult for people who suffer from ADHD. Why is it normally picked up in young boys? Generally, they're deemed the naughty ones, the loud ones, the little out-of-control kids at school. Girls who have ADHD often get missed. Why? Well, because we're not the loud, out there, naughty kids. Girls, we tend to be daydreamers. And daydreaming, that goes under the radar. I think you find that most kids who have ADHD struggle at school. It's really hard to sit still. You can't focus, and life becomes increasingly difficult. As you reach high school, and then anything thereafter, well, how do you manage? But it's not as though people with ADHD are lacking in intelligence. Although from school reports, you generally think your child is average at best. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule, so please don't take offence if you were super smart and have at school and have ADHD. ADHD kids often get labelled as lazy. They're not very good at handing in their homework or concentrating in class. Me personally, I hated school, and my problems started at kindy. You see, kindy seemed to be this place for socialising, for kids getting to know how to interact with other kids. Now, I was born with a really inquisitive mind. I was reading and writing little stories, as in very short, along the lines of once upon a time, insert character, did this, insert an action, and then they lived happily ever after. So yeah, not great as far as stories were concerned, but you do that before you even go to kindy. Going to kindy and playing in the sandpit, well, that's pretty boring. I tended to be one of those kids that had my nose in a book, and I love painting and I love drawing. That's what I wanted to do, not play in the sandpit or sing songs and skip in ropes and dance in circles. As an undiagnosed autistic child, I was already not fitting in. Things did not get any better through primary school. The lessons were boring. By now, I joined a library. I was reading everything I could get my hands on, and for some reason I loved English history, and I was obsessed with anything to do with animals. I knew every breed of dog and horse and was identifying crosses and subgroups of different types of mammals. That would have been my autistic side. So all this sitting around tables with other kids having to practice the same stuff over and over and over again was well beyond what I was learning myself shut away in my bedroom, and it was deeply frustrating. I would just zone out in class. I'd go off into daydream land, or I'd doodle away on pieces of paper tucked away in my exercise books. Looked like I'm writing. I tried my best throughout school to be invisible. I would generally zone back in at the word homework, and then copy down whatever was written on the blackboard, knowing that I'd nut something out at some point and get it submitted, which I would. I'd go home, go up to my room, supposedly to do my homework, but I'd play games or stim or whatever, anything but actually do homework, unless it had to be in the next day. Because homework was always a last-minute scribbled something so that you didn't get noticed, and that would just scrape past. High school was unbearable. I was bullied unmercifully for my differences. I became an expert truant. But somehow or another, I still managed to scrape by. And it was scrape by, average grades. At the age of 16, I thought I'd like to go to college and study art. But that was deemed an absolute no-no. A waste of time, a waste of money, ridiculous, nonsensical. Nobody does art. Art is always a waste of time. As the eldest, it was my responsibility, apparently, to leave school at 16, get a job as a nurse or a secretary, and contribute to the family finances. And anyway, I was told, with my poor grades, I wouldn't get into any sort of college anyway. So it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I decided that I'd really like to try again and study. I tried studying at TAFE College for a while. I tried some private courses. I tried some correspondence courses and online courses. I finished one correspondence course, but, you know, it's not really recognised. It's not going to do me any good, but it was something to do that, you know, pleased me and occupied me for a little while. TAFE and formal education was very difficult. I was not able to focus or discipline myself to remain interested and engaged for multiple reasons. And then I didn't have the grades to get into university, obviously, but someone then told me I could get in via a foundation course. Now, this was offered by a single university where basically you got a little tester. You had a year of doing little testers of all these different subjects. And as long as you passed your basic, you know, written and arithmetic test to be able to get into that, it was okay. So I did that. And I found it really interesting. But by this time, I was a single mum, working part-time and studying part-time. And although I enjoyed the variety of subjects, because it covered so many different elements, I found aspects of the study difficult. And it wasn't the work itself. Mainly, it was lectures. I find it really difficult to sit still in a lecture theatre or classroom. Excluding all the sensory issues, the sheer effort of focusing on what is being said and keeping my mind engaged is almost impossible. Lecturers just take too long to explain things. My brain works really fast, so it picks things up quickly, and then I have to sit there through the remainder of the lesson waiting for everybody else to catch up, and other students constantly asking questions and wanting things clarified, and I sitting there going, what is wrong with you? Why don't you understand this? This was all made clear like half an hour ago. Why are we still on the same point? It would drive me completely round the twist. I can't learn in a classroom or lecture hall environment. But I pushed myself because the topics were interesting. I completed the foundation course and I got accepted into uni to study a degree. But it was a bit of a big ask. I couldn't complete it. Partly sensory processing issues, but also this whole sitting still and having to focus bit when all I wanted to do was jump up and down, say, hurry up, we've got that bit, move on, please. And other personal stuff happening in my life. I completed all my assignments. I quite enjoyed the content. But, like anybody with ADHD, I'd always leave writing my papers and reports to the absolute last minute, because that's the only way we can actually focus under pressure. Now, I'm not super smart by any means. It's just a speed issue. The world around me is always in slow-mo. Years went by before I tried again, because I dropped out. So Years went by before I tried again. And then, as an unemployed person who left school at the age of 16, my then employment provider decided for me what I must do. Obviously, as a middle-aged female with a low educational background, in their view, I should become an aged care support worker. And they promptly made me sign up for an online low certification course. It drove me nuts. Cartoons and multiple choice answers. Really? To start with, my auty brain strongly objected to the cartoons. It does not understand them. And I would get caught up on these little details like, on this course, why do all Aborigines wear Swiss hats with feathers in them? I have not seen this in real life, so why was this course teaching me this? This was incorrect. Why should I believe anything else this course was teaching me? It was a very, very silly course. And my ADHD brain was bored silly. So it just clicked randomly on multiple choice things just to make it stop and get through it. Somehow, I passed the coursework side of things without any effort. Then I was told I needed to find my own work placement to complete my qualification. Yeah, right. Total brick wall. This whole ADHD autism combo was not going to handle that, and no one would help me. Because externally, I was a 50-something-year-old woman who had many years of work experience under her belt. It was expected that I could approach workplaces by myself and do this. Unbeknown to them and myself, I was an undiagnosed ADHD autistic woman with major social difficulties, and I became completely paralysed by this. Then COVID hit, and no one wanted to take on students or volunteers in aged care anyway, so I was off the hook for completing that course. But, I can't sit still. I like to learn things. I like to do things. I want to know. I'm inquisitive. And, I like being and doing. I'm not just going to sit at home being unemployed and watch TV. That's just not in me. So I genuinely want to better my life, and I was determined to study something, but it had to be on my terms. Now, I can't travel, so it had to be local or distance, online. I can't sit still in lectures, so I needed to have a mix, preferably online and research from home, or, practical stuff that I could do at home, or field work. And it had to be part-time because I know I don't have the energy levels to do anything on a full-time basis. As far as they were concerned, it had to be an approved training provider and an approved course. This left very few options, but I found a course that seemed quite interesting, I quite liked, and a lecturer who sort of understood my needs, and she did her best to try and accommodate them. When she said, all right, everyone's going to meet at this place, I'd be going, no, can't do that. I'm not going from here to there at that time of day because I can't. And I just said, look, I have anxiety issues. I cannot do that travel bit. So I can't do that bit. Can I do it at another time? And can someone else go with me if I get someone else to drive me and I get filmed doing it? So, we've found ways to accommodate what I thought was anxiety. So she was really good for me for that way. So I was able to do the work, but I couldn't do it in a large group, and I couldn't do it at all locations or at the same time, but I could still do it. Then partway through this course, I'd sort of started clicking that there was something wrong, and I was beginning the process of self-diagnosis for autism spectrum disorder. Then I got officially diagnosed with ADHD. So I decided to disclose because I really actually wanted to complete this course. I've been enjoying it. At that point, my lecturer became even more fantastic. She understood. And she then worked with me to find modules that suited the way my brain learns. So I've now had lots of research-based modules and lots of practical field work. We catch up one-on-one, so I am not overwhelmed by the whole classroom environment. My ADHD doesn't go, come on, hurry up. So no sensory triggers, no ADHD frustration. We talk about things quietly and calmly and work things through. For field work, I had to take a person with me for A, safety reasons, and B, to film me and photograph me and prove that it's me actually doing the work. And I submit that to her, and that works. I have had to request extended deadlines for reports because ADHD does not like writing reports. It really does not want me to sit down and spend weeks in a very organised manner completing reports. My autistic side of my brain will put together the skeleton of the report, but the ADHD bit goes, I don't want to do those little boring bits in the middle until the very, 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 very last minute. But, I am doing it. So I'm now 8/10 of the way through a course and determined that I will complete it. Because ADHD does not mean you're dumb or that you can't study, but it means that institutions, teachers, lecturers could perhaps be taught about neurodivergent brains and their different study needs and how to accommodate them. Because it can be done. We just need it to be done slightly differently. So I'm going to finish this. I know that. And I'm really pleased. And I know this one was a bit of a waffle, but thank you for listening. And I hope it helps in some way. Be well.